Welcome to MumAbroad's interview of the week. Today I'm going to be chatting to Niki Moss Simpson. Hi, Niki.
Hi, Jane. Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Niki, I think you are probably one of the most accomplished women I've ever met. You are a teacher, a coach, a therapist, a mentor, a writer, a sacred space holder. You trained in reflexology, reiki, Indian head massage. More recently, I know that you've trained as a yoga teacher. Incredibly accomplished. And in 2017, you launched Shine, Sparkle, Radiate. You've called this your true calling and your soul purpose. Can you explain to us what you mean by that and a bit about Shine, Sparkle, Radiate?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, Jane. With great pleasure, because it's something that I believe is my soul purpose, and I believe it's my true calling and my mission in life. And it was only in 2017 that I realized that, and I realized that because all the things that I'd been doing in my life and all the experiences that I have experienced had given me so much understanding and knowledge and the tools to deal with the situations that I dealt with myself, that I knew that it wasn't just something that had happened to me. It was to give me a reason to support others. So Shine, Sparkle, Radiate is my passion project. It is my goal to support women and girls to live shining, sparkling, radiating lives, however that is for them, however they want their lives to be. So yeah, I'm an intuitive. I discovered when I was 7 years old that I was able to see people's auras, and that I could leave my body and fly off, visit different places in my sleep, and that I was slightly different, which made it very difficult as a teenager to fit in. But now I understand what it was all about, and so over the years I felt very drawn to supporting and helping others, and in particular women and girls. So I've experienced all sorts of things. As a teenager, as a 15-year-old, I was raped on my first official date. Somebody I knew who offered to drop me at home and took advantage of me on the way home. And of course, all those years ago, as a 15-year-old, I totally believed it was all my fault and didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my mum, I didn't tell my friends. In fact, it was something that I didn't talk about till I was 49 years old. And for the first time that came out of my mouth, it was also the time that I realized that I had to start speaking my truth. Right. Because if we keep things inside us, we're the ones who suffer, we're the ones who hurt. And it was so important for me to actually say those words. And I told my mum, and it was something that brought us closer together. And she said, I can't believe that all of these years you didn't tell me that.
That must have been such a release for you, getting that out of you. Yeah.
Yeah. It really was. It really was. And it also explains so many of the things that I'd experienced in my life ever since, because married, I didn't understand that women were supposed to enjoy sex, because my first experience hadn't been enjoyable at all. So that led to repetitive urinary tract infections.
Right.
For years and years, I couldn't fall pregnant because there was a control thing. So I had infertility treatment to have my daughter. I lost a baby when she was when I was pregnant, 5 months pregnant. So she was, 5 months in the womb. She died. My son, I conceived within the first month of the pregnancy, which was called I can't think what it was called. When a pregnancy stops just for no apparent reason. I've forgotten the term. So he was conceived, and of course I didn't get close to him because I was terrified that he was going to leave me. So I didn't acknowledge his existence or my pregnancy until I'd passed 6 months of pregnancy and went, oh, this baby's not leaving me. Okay, I can accept that I'm pregnant now. My husband was disloyal. He had affairs throughout our marriage. I ended up becoming strong only because my daughter found out that he had a girlfriend behind my back, and she was a very vulnerable 13-year-old. And I knew that I couldn't pretend any longer that this wasn't happening in our relationship, and I had to ask him to leave. So I found myself a single mum with two children to raise in a foreign country, because at that time we lived in Switzerland. And so all of these things made me a stronger woman, but also gave me the experiences that other women and other girls have in life. And I knew that I wanted to support them in difficult times and times of transformation, because all of these things, these pivotal times, change you. They give you what you need to change. And, you know, I don't believe that we're victims. I do believe that all of these things happen to give us more life experience and to also give us the tools to help other people. So that's why I created Shine, Sparkle, Radiate. It was to really help women when they find themselves in transition moments in their lives. And most recently for me, I think that very difficult experience was when my 20-year-old, when she was 18, she left home. You know, we were very, very close, the three of us, my son, my daughter and I, all living in Barcelona in Spain. So that was our fourth country that we'd lived in. And she was going off to university, which I was really proud of. And I thought that I'd be okay with. But when she actually left and I walked past her bedroom door and realized she wasn't there, it was yet again one of those transformative experiences that I'd gone from being a mum, a very active mum, to a mum with a daughter who was a long, long way away. And at the same time, my son chose to go and live with his father because he was 15 years old and wanted to go back to skiing. He'd grown up in Switzerland and was a really great ski racer. And when we moved to Barcelona, he discovered that skateboarding just didn't match the skiing. So he chose to return to the snow. And part of that was going to live with his father, who had stayed in Switzerland. But I really felt that I'd lost both my children at the same time.
Yeah, that must be incredibly, incredibly difficult. My children are a little bit younger than yours. My eldest daughter is 16, but I'm already thinking about, 2 years' time, she'll be off to university.
Yeah.
And probably will be in another country. And I'm already thinking about the kind of loss and the emptiness in the house, when she's not here. So I can't imagine when two of them leave at the same time. So I can believe that was a very difficult moment for you. Tell me a bit about your retreats, Niki. So Shine, Sparkle and Radiate is to support mothers and daughters. I know that you do that in various different ways. You have different approaches, but one of the things that you do is that you have retreats where you have a space for mums and daughters to go. What happens on those retreats? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So the mother-daughter bond or the mother-daughter relationship psychologists say, is the most important relationship in a girl's life, and a mother's life, because it sets the tone for all other relationships. And there's always so much conflict, or there can be conflict in the relationship between mothers and daughters, particularly during the teenage years, when a daughter's job is to rebel against her mother to find out who she is, and a mother's job is to set the rules. And for both of them, it's really difficult because they're often very, very close. And for a mum to have to set boundaries and rules, and I always imagine this as the image of a swimming pool. So the mum is the border of the swimming pool, the safe handlebars on the swimming pool, where daughters can go when they need support. Whatever they've done when they're swimming out in the middle of the pool and they're moving away from their mum, they're swimming away from mum, they're not looking back, they're socializing with friends, they're learning about boys, they're experimenting, whatever that may look like. And they need to know that mum, the handlebars, the bars of the swimming pool, is always going to be there no matter what she does. And for both mum and daughter, it's really difficult because, you know, children don't come with handbooks, guidebooks, how they work, how they function. We're all making it up as we go along, and we're all doing the best we can with the knowledge we have. Daughters are, mums are. And I think teenage girls often, their development is, they say, the same as a 3-year-old. They're really experiencing the biggest development in their lives, all teenagers, girls and boys. And it's very hard for mums to understand that one day their kind, gentle, helpful daughter who enjoys working in the kitchen with them or supporting them or going shopping with them or spending a day at the beach with them suddenly slams her bedroom door and says, "Mum, I hate you." And it's totally shocking. And yet it's absolutely normal, because a daughter knows that her mum will love her unconditionally. She's the security blanket. She's the one that she turns to. But for mum, it's like, well, what happened there? I thought she loved me. Why is she saying she hates me? And often when a mum asks the daughter, "Why do you hate me?" she doesn't know. She doesn't really hate her. She loves her. And she doesn't know why she said that. So during the retreats, it's very much an open space in which I hold the space for mums and daughters to be truthfully honest with each other. And we do carry out very different workshops to try and map out the relationship and to talk about difficult questions and to give everybody the space to really find the truth. And it might be that mum explains her pregnancy and birth to her daughter, because that's something we don't often share with our daughters in our society as well. And often it's just the knowledge of what happened and how much they were wanted, how much a daughter was wanted during a pregnancy, that lets the daughter know how much she's loved by her mum and gives mum that opportunity to express her love as well. Mm-hmm. So it's really about learning self-care, learning to express our love for each other and our needs, what mum needs. You know, I need half an hour to have a bath by myself every Friday night without you saying you want me to drop you somewhere. A daughter may need, I need Sunday morning in bed, mum, without you telling me to get up. And it's about negotiating the rules of their relationship. Right. And we do that in a supportive environment with lots of other activities as well, healthy foods, yoga, nice long hikes in nature, just really setting the scene for mums and daughters to really reconnect again.
I guess it's a lot about communication as well, isn't it? Because like you were saying, mum needs, you know, half an hour here by herself for whatever reason, or the daughter needs a morning in bed on a Sunday. And you kind of make assumptions about the other person, that your daughter's being lazy because she wants to stay in bed on Sunday morning, or mum's being selfish because she wants that half an hour to herself. But if you actually communicate with each other and you say, you know, no, I really need this time because, and your issues are kind of solved quite quickly, quite easily, if you can communicate. And I think a lot of people don't have that communication or struggle with that communication. So I can imagine that your retreats are great from that point of view. Niki, I should at this point just mention that you're a writer, Niki, and you've been writing for our blog for MumAbroad Live for quite a while now. And you've been focusing on teens, tweens and teens, and the issues that parents can have with them. We've looked at the importance of self-esteem. We've looked at social media. You've written about even what teenagers can teach their parents. Everything has been fascinating for me with a 16-year-old daughter, and my sons are 12 and 9, so they're coming into the tween years. What I love about your writing, Niki, is that you give a lot of advice, you give a lot of very useful information, but you don't preach. You don't tell the parents, this is what you have to do, this is the problem, this is how you solve it. you talk about your own experiences with your own children, and you say, why don't you try this, or this worked for me, maybe it will work for you. And that's what I really like about your writing. How did you start writing, or when did you come into writing?
Well, I've been an English teacher since, well, almost 25 years. I started in primary education, so I was a primary teacher initially, and then I moved into secondary education and became an English teacher. So I've always loved writing. You know, writing, just journaling makes me happy. It's one of the tools I use as a self-care tool, just to get everything out of my body and out of my head onto paper. So my writing is very much that. So even when I'm writing for you, it's also very cathartic for me, because it allows me to share my experiences and to express myself. And I love linguistics. I love words, and I love creating sentences that just speak to you. They're descriptive without being over descriptive. You know, so I don't. My writing is it's just part of me. It's just, I feel it comes from my soul. I feel it comes out of me as I'm expressing it. And yeah, I would never dream of being preachy to anybody. I just believe that when we tell our stories, we help others tell their stories and think about what might work for them.
You have a very chatty way of writing, and that's what comes out in the blogs, and that's what makes it kind of easy to read, I would say. So if anybody out there is interested in reading more, you can take a look on our website, which is www.mumabroad.com, and look at the blog. And I think you've probably written about 10 articles for us by now. There's one which is your story, which tells us a bit about your background. And one is, the most recent one is lockdown, how you got through lockdown, which was a great one. And I can understand that that's completely cathartic. And the others, as I say, are about teenagers. So they're a great source for not just parents of teens, but parents who have younger children who are going to become teenagers. The last thing I want to talk about, Niki, is a little bit about lockdown. You're in Switzerland, as you said. You actually live in Barcelona, or in Sitges, which is just outside of Barcelona. So you found yourself in another country during lockdown. Somewhere you wrote that lockdown is particularly difficult for women. A lot of women are suffering burnout during this period. I'm interested to hear more about that point of view.
Yes, so I think for many women, lockdown came with its burdens, because women traditionally carry the emotional charge of a family. Mm-hmm. They carry the emotional charge for their partners, and they carry the emotional charge often for their parents if they're elderly, and they carry the emotional charge for their children, which means that they take on the responsibility of the emotions of the family. So often mums are trying to keep everybody happy, or women are trying to keep everybody happy. And they take it on themselves to do that. And they're often at the end of their happy list. So children are happy, they're trying to help them with their homeschooling, whatever that might look like. Their partners who are doing their jobs, they're trying to make sure that they're happy to be able to do their jobs. And at the end of the list, it's, well, am I happy? Well, it doesn't matter if I'm happy or not. I'm responsible for everybody else's well-being and happiness. And I think this emotional charge on women's shoulders is huge. And even if, for example, families share the housework, it's often the woman who has to instigate, well, you know, can you do the laundry today? Oh, okay. She has to do the thinking. She has to do the shopping list. She has to do the appointments for the children's dentist or doctors, or a husband's doctor or dentist. And it's all of that thinking. It's all the emotional caring that women traditionally have the responsibility for. So I think you know, lockdown came with all of this extra weight for women. It was not only am I responsible for myself, but I'm responsible for the well-being of all of these people, and we're locked together.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there's a lot written about the mental load for women, isn't there? That they take on the mental load of everybody else in the family, and that's an unseen load. And I guess it's just has been exaggerated for many women during lockdown. Yeah. So, Niki, as we've mentioned a couple of times, you've been in lockdown in Switzerland. Sitges is your home, just south of Barcelona. When are you coming back?
So I've booked a flight for July the 5th. So fingers crossed, I'm going to arrive in Barcelona on the afternoon of July the 5th. And I will be back home in Sitges sometime in the afternoon, early evening, which I'm really looking forward to, because I can clear out my poor dead plants, see if my kombucha babies are alive, poor things, I doubt it, and settle back into my Mediterranean lifestyle.
Great. We're looking forward to seeing you when you get back.
Thanks, Jane.
Niki, it's been great to chat to you this morning. Thank you for being so open and honest about your life. If people want to get in contact with you, what's the best way?
Okay, so I think the best way is probably through my website, which is www.shinesparkleradiate.com. There's a contact page which will send you to my email address, which is nikki@shinesparkleradiate.com. And I'm also on social media. I have a Facebook page, Shine Sparkle Radiate. You're very welcome to join. I post daily tips and advice and lots of useful stuff, lots of useful things to talk about. And I have a group for mothers and daughters on Facebook as well.
What do you love about where you live?
The beach.
Your favourite place to work?
At home on my terrace.
What book are you reading at the moment?
Oh, I Don't Hate You. It's a book about the mother and daughter relationship.
What's your favourite place in Catalonia?
It's the Buddhist monastery up in the Garraf Park, just above Sitges.
Are you a tea or coffee drinker?
Both.
Your favourite shop in Sitges?
Ooh, it's called Love, Sex and Diamonds. And it's the shop with crystals and incense and all sorts of lovely jewellery. And it's in the high street in Sitges.
One piece of advice for families relocating to Barcelona?
Learn Spanish.
Your favourite weekend activity when you're at home?
That would be hiking from Sitges to Villanova along the coastal path, dipping my feet in the ocean, and then having a lovely lunch on a terrace in Villanova and getting the train back to Sitges.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Anything that you dislike about living here or in Barcelona?
I think recently it's the petty crime, the increase in petty crime. I found that very upsetting.
And 3 words that describe your life?
Vibrant, joyful, and eclectic. Lots of things, lots of different aspects to me that I enjoy.